A big thank you to the EU Life programme who funded this work.
So good afternoon, everybody. My name's Fiona Tibbitt. I'm the Recreational Remedies Project Manager working in Natural England. I've been on the project for the last year and a half, and I have to say thanks very much to Lewis for that incredible video. I think it just highlights brilliantly all of the incredible work that has gone on in this project, and it's just a fabulous sort of culmination and a brilliant place to launch the video. So thank you for that. So I'm going to talk to you today about what happens next, what happens after life, essentially. Yeah, it's been an incredible project to work on. So I'm looking forward now as to what we can potentially do as part of the legacy of ReMEDIES. So as you've heard today about some of the fantastic work that's happened under the ReMEDIES project, as part of the grant agreement under EU Life rules, there needs to be a legacy element to the ReMEDIES project as well, and that's to ensure that there's sustainability and longevity of the project actions going forward into the future. So we need to make sure that we protect what we've done and put in place things to ensure that the conservation of those project actions carries on into the future. So we also need to make sure that we learn lessons from the ReMEDIES project and make sure that we share those lessons so that others that want to take this work forward don't make the same mistakes that we have. And believe me, there's been plenty of those that we've had to learn from along the way. We also need to make sure that there's a continuous and accessible source of information that's updated with all the research, reports and resources that have been produced throughout ReMEDIES. And we also need to make sure that the partners have, and all the stakeholders involved, have access to that useful information so that they can also continue on the work as well. So going forward, as part of the legacy work, the primary focus is going to be around hosting of the static website, which is the Save Our Seabed website. We're going to make sure that seabed habitat restoration and protection actions continue on into the future, and that's through some of the work that OCT and the Blue Meadows are doing. And we're also going to make sure, as I said, to ensure that others learn those lessons and support each other in taking this work forward. So as it's already been mentioned, the ReMEDIES project focused on 5 special areas of conservation. And these are based down in the south of England and also in East Anglia. But I really like to feel that the Legacies project can be looked at as a giant octopus spreading its enormous tentacles around the rest of the UK as well, and even further afield. And so that means that there can really be massive change and restoration work going on at a truly seascape scale into the future. So in terms of an indicative timeline for this legacy work going forward in the afterlife, we've come up with the project governance board that has already been established and come up with a timeline and a plan to take this work forward into the next few years. We've currently formed an afterlife steering group, which is an evolution of the project governance board. And I've collated the partner contributions of what each individual partner organisation has agreed to do to take this work forward as their legacy. We're going to ensure that we develop the website as it goes static after the end of October. And my colleague Josh is currently working on some of that work. We're also going to be presenting the afterlife plan at the ReMEDIES conference, which is obviously what I'm doing today. And we're going to be launching that static website at the end of October. We're also going to make sure that that afterlife plan is incorporated into the final reporting, and that goes to our EU funders with a deadline of the end of January 2025. We're also, the final element is we're going to be convening at the second UK Seagrass Symposium, which is happening in Wales in 2025 as well. So each individual organisation that has been involved in ReMEDIES has come up with a plan of what they've agreed to do as part of that afterlife. Natural England has agreed to chair the afterlife steering group and ensure that the afterlife plan is accessible so that others can see what we're all up to. They're going to be updating the condition assessments and providing conservation advice. As Duncan has said, that's our bread and butter. And we're going to be using the ReMEDIES outputs and research and reports as part of that evidence to be able to provide better advice going forward. We're also going to be managing that static website, and we're looking to have that as a one-stop shop for everything to do with the ReMEDIES project and restoration work, so that others can access that and use all of those resources available to them. We'll be signposting people to that as well, and then also attending the second UK Seagrass Symposium. And Jan has also mentioned the Advanced Mooring System Network, which is now over 40 people UK-wide, and that will continue on into the future as well, because everyone is seeing the value of that network. The Ocean Conservation Trust have agreed to continue growing their plant stock for restoration purposes. And they have the continuation of their project, the mini meadows, which is going to be starting in 2025 and going over to 2030. They're also going to be partnering and supporting a detailed study of seagrass life cycles through a PhD programme, which, congratulations to Amelia, she has secured at the University College London, and that will be starting shortly as well. They're also going to be exhibiting live seagrass exhibits within the National Marine Aquarium here from next year, which is fantastic, and those will obviously be used to inspire and engage others around how important these habitats are to protect. And they'll also be sharing the lessons of restoration with others through a knowledge exchange programme. And a great example of this is the EU Life-funded Seagrass Rear Wild project, which has actually started, and ReMEDIES was the inspiration for that project, which is fantastic to hear. They'll also be using the Seagrass Education Programme and some of the resources that were produced through ReMEDIES for their Blue Meadows work and continue on with that. And they'll also be looking to deliver some of the SeaFlex advanced mooring systems through the Blue Meadows work as well. And the design of the SeaFlex advanced mooring systems was obviously produced through the OCT, and that design will continue to be refined, learning the lessons from the advanced mooring system network. So the RYA have agreed to continue to share and update the Green Guide to Anchoring and Mooring, which Kate talked about earlier, which is a fantastic resource for sustainable boating practices. They'll also be maintaining that green-blue website she talked about as well, and signposting others to ReMEDIES website too. They'll also be continuing to share the learning and on other restoration projects, especially around engaging with the boating community, because that has been a really important part of their work. They'll also be ensuring habitat protection is embedded within their outreach and education work. And there'll also be ongoing work with the chart companies around trying to make sure that the seagrass layers are incorporated within those systems, as well as the advanced mooring systems and voluntary no anchor zones as well. And this work was actually outside of ReMEDIES, but obviously it's been hugely beneficial to it. So Plymouth City Council and the Tamar Executive Consultative Forum, they'll be continuing to protect habitats through their management plan reviews. They'll also be delivering marine management, recreation and mitigation and management schemes, and they'll be using the recreational survey data that was really an integral part of gathering evidence around recreational activity. They're going to be continuing on investigating of advanced mooring system delivery within their patch and make sure that they align future seagrass conservation projects as well. And they're also going to be signposting, obviously, to the ReMEDIES website and resources that will be available on there, as well as updating their water user guide. There'll also be ReMEDIES engagement resources that will be used for the Plymouth Sound and Estuaries National Marine Park work, because there will obviously be a big stakeholder engagement focus with that project. And a really exciting element of their work is development around the blue finance. And they're going to be using the ReMEDIES costings and learnings towards a seagrass token project. And that's actually a really new area of work to be explored. So MCS will be sharing the MCS Ocean Superheroes video that is available on the website and also from the ReMEDIES website. And they'll be continuing on fighting continuing their Fight Climate Change Ocean Friendly School Award and support of Dive Project Cornwall as well, which has been another really exciting project in the south of England. And they'll be also promoting the ReMEDIES education work. And they'll also, the other big key thing is obviously around Seasearch, a really long-term data set that has been produced there over many decades, and they'll be continuing to submit data and do surveys within the 5 special areas of conservation and continue monitoring those habitats and species and ensure that data is freely accessible, and that will be through the Marine Recorder online. And that all of that data and evidence will be available to enable assessments of human impacts as well over time and ensure that all of that data can be used in future management decision making. So in terms of the work being continued on a site-by-site basis, some of the outlying sites, for example, the Isles of Scilly, there's been huge amounts of progress that have been made working with partners there, such as the Wildlife Trust, the Duchy of Cornwall and the Trescoes Estate, and that will all be in partnership and making sure that they learn lessons and best practice from the ReMEDIES project. And there'll obviously be continuation around that annual monitoring of seagrass that Project Seagrass have been involved with, and that's a really long-term data set as well, so that will continue. And it also incorporates a really good element of citizen science to that work too. Within Plymouth Sound and Estuaries, there'll be continuing engagement work to inform seagrass management, as well as the conservation advice and condition assessment work, updating of those management plans, and development of the Plymouth Sound and Estuaries National Marine Park work. And that will also support engagement and transfer of those voluntary no-anchor zones, advanced mooring systems over to OCT, as well as some of the monitoring of the advanced mooring systems as well. And there is a continuation of the Seagrass Working Group as well within TechF. There's also continued work going on in Fowl and Helford, as well as the Solent. The Falmouth Harbour Commissioners have done a huge amount of work, as well as the SAC Management Forum and Cornwall Council Estuaries Officer, and that's to promote the ReMEDIES messaging. And there'll be continued data collection around the recreational activities as well to aid management decision making. The Solent as well will be involved with the Solent Seascape project, and that's a really huge project through the Blue Marine Foundation. And anchoring and mooring are going to be the key behaviour change focus to improve condition within that site. And obviously ReMEDIES data will be used as a baseline for that. There's also going to be a Seagrass working group that's been established that will have a rolling chair so that there's a real sense of ownership with that project going forward, going forward. Within the Essex Estuaries, there's also been a lot of work that's happened in the last year and a half since we had a new site lead. There's continued working with the Seagrass Specialist Group through the Essex Wildlife Trust, and they've done a huge amount of work, and there's been real close collaboration there with the ReMEDIES project, which is fantastic. There'll be continued working with landscape scale projects, or seascape scale projects, I should say, current and planned ones in the future. So there's really exciting stuff happening there, and potential future projects to link in Essex seagrass projects and to link that in with the Seagrass Seeds of Recovery project as well. So I think that just gives a quick sort of fire roundup of everything that we're planning on doing after life. And I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who's been involved in the ReMEDIES project. I'm immensely proud of everything that's been achieved, and it was really wonderful to see the film there. And yeah, there's obviously a lot of people that can't be here today, but I want to say thanks to all the volunteers, the partners, the stakeholders, our sponsors, EU Life obviously as well, our funders, and everybody that has worked with us. It has been an incredible experience, so I'm very proud to have been involved in it. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Fee. That was a great roundup, and yeah, thank you to you as well, because you've done a great job since you arrived. Has anyone got any quick questions for Fee on the future of all this work that we're doing? Yes, Chris. I think the microphone's just coming.
Thanks very much, Fee. So you mentioned this website. Will the data and reports generated through the project be available for as open access on that site, or will they be hosted centrally on the Natural England?
So basically the plan is we're going to have a landing page on the Natural England Evidence Portal with all the ReMEDIES work, because we are still expecting some of the reports and research to come in after the end of October. So in order to make sure that those are still accessible, we'll have a link to the Save Our Seabed website, to that landing page on the Natural England Evidence Portal. So anything that does come in after the end of October, that it will still be accessible and easy to find. So we want to make sure it is a real one-stop shop where anything useful for future restoration projects can be found there. So that's the plan.
Great.
Yes, there's a question at the back, the blue shirt.
Thanks, Jason again from Plymouth Uni. That was a fantastic video, brilliant, I loved it. And Merle featured quite a lot in it because it's pretty and pink. But I just wondered if there's any plans ahead to try and restore, regenerate, or try to grow Merle to improve places that have been damaged in the past.
I don't believe so. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm not aware of any at the moment, and as far as I was aware, but somebody who with more knowledge might know about this, but I was under the impression that Merle couldn't actually be restored, but please tell me if that's not correct. So yeah, I think it's about removal of the pressures from Merle beds and making sure that what we've still got is protected rather than trying to restore it.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Fee. That was brilliant.
Afternoon, everyone. So I'm John Kidd from Maker with Rain Parish Council. We're just across the water in Cawsand Bay. It's been my pleasure, first of all, to work with many people here. I'll get my thanks in first in case you fall asleep in 3 minutes. So Mark, Jean-Luc, the ReMEDIES team, Liz Cole, Natural England, people in our community like Peter Scott, who's provided lots of advice, George Graydon, our diver, obviously all the many bodies we work with like the Catwater Harbour Commissioners, PPML, KHM, you name it. There are many different people to work with, lots of red tape, but we've had so much fun doing this project. So thank you, Mark, and everyone for doing that. So we live in a wonderful place. There's a lot of things going on there. So we still have local fishing boats. It's a very popular all year round swimming destination, and we have hundreds of visiting yachts and cruisers coming to anchor there as well. Pre-ReMEDIES, there was a mixture of old chain, engine blocks used to be thrown over the side with a bit of rope on as an anchor, and obviously concrete blocks. Swim buoys we used to have to put in April, May every year and take out every autumn, and thanks to the Catwater for all their help, you can see the barge here. Many of the swim buoys were end of life. There were old chains and lumps of old railway line that used to drag across the bottoms. You can imagine it was a pretty invasive process twice a year that we used to go through. What do we do? Well, we have a mixture of moorings and swim buoys. Moorings we did in 2 phases, and we started out first of all by clearing out all the rubbish that was on the bottom, so thanks to George and his team for doing that. The first phase of moorings was a trial using sterling only, and then the second phase we looked at either sterling or Seaflex. Fair to say the majority of people gone with sterling, and I think our recommendation going forward would probably be sterling is a better option working in those conditions. The swim buoys themselves, as I say, were old end-of-life bits of kit. We used the same helical ground anchors where we could, although it's only suitable where you have got that 2 meters of seabed to get through. One of our swim buoys does actually have a concrete block because of the rock that's underneath it. And obviously then we've put the right signage on there, and despite us putting large signs, do not anchor on, do not moor on these buoys, we still have many people who try to attach their large boats to those buoys. So what's the experience? First of all, I am a mooring owner, and I can say that the majority of us are very, very happy with those moorings. It gives us a sense of security, and certainly when I swim and dive around my mooring, I'm very happy with the visible amount of seagrass that is around them now. I don't count it, but it's greener than it used to be, is my simple layman's experimental result. In terms of the swim buoys, we have reassured swimmers. As you know, open water swimming has taken off, particularly post-COVID, and we have many swimmers every day who go out there every day of the year, and so we feel it's a big bonus for them, and it's a reduced operating cost to the community because we can leave those buoys in all year round now, subject to the annual inspections. So we've had great engagement from everyone. A lot of the people in the video you saw there were people meeting in the local community over at the Cawsand clock tower, and they had a great engagement on the project. What we want to try and do is get that engagement back at the source of all these visitors, yachts and boats who come over from the local marinas here on a regular basis. So what's next? Well, the only thing is for sure is going to be increasing pressures. More boats are anchoring in the bay. This year's been a little bit down, probably because of the not so good weather. But it's a very, very popular spot, as you can imagine. And people just come over there in droves at the weekends, and they'll anchor anywhere. And a lot of them simply aren't aware of the seagrass or better ways of anchoring. So we do need support in helping get those messages across to people. In terms of swimming and sailing, kayaking, paddleboarding, jet ski, water skiing, fishing, diving, the latest tech is wing foiling, I think now, isn't it? And these jet boards that you can get. There's a huge amount of activity taking place in a very small space. And there's no great regulation. So we do appreciate the times when the marine police do come over and help us if there's a rogue jet ski around, but it's very difficult to, I'm going to say, police in the loosest possible term all the activities that go on in that very small space. So, in terms of further steps, let's continue with the education journey. It's been a huge impact to our local community. We just need to get it out further afield into the wider Plymouth marinas and so on. So they're on our side before they arrive, rather than read the notices on the Cleve when they've got there and think, well, I've just put my anchor through a load of seagrass. So let's get them at source. We've got an opportunity given to us with Mark and OCT to replace some of the anchoring that's needed with some visitors' moorings. That's quite contentious, and we're working with Peter and others in the local community to see if that's viable for us. And the other thing that I think we all find quite frustrating is how many different agencies there are involved in doing all the stuff around here. So let's try and work better together, and so we can get a greater result for everyone, particularly now we've got a national marine park. So ReMEDIES has kick-started what will be a great journey. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, John. That was brilliant to get that feedback. Thank you very much for taking the time. We have Alex next. There he is. Thank you, Alex.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm Alex from the Essex Wildlife Trust, and I'd like to talk to you about what we've been doing in Essex for the last few years as part of our Essex Seagrass project. So, if you didn't know already, Essex Wildlife Trust is Essex's largest wildlife charity, and we've got one of the country's longest coastlines, and it's very beautiful if you haven't been, 350 miles long, including ideal habitat for the dwarf eelgrass, because it's very much estuarine and intertidal areas, although not all of that is within the SAC. But unfortunately, like many of the other areas, we have had a big loss since 1936, it's 44%, and some of the meadows that we've got are just 2% of their historical extent, which is obviously not very good, and that's partially due to the high levels of recreational pressures that we have got. So looking at what ReMEDIES have been doing in Essex, so this partnership, like elsewhere, is to deliver project activities to benefit seagrass, mainly because the impacts around recreational pressures are not too well known. And so we've been delivering the recreational impact surveys for the past few years. And that's been across 14 sites of either current or historical areas of seagrass, 3 surveys per month, and all of that data has been uploaded to Survey 123. And you can see on the picture on the left there, there's a little survey pack that we give to all our volunteers, and there's a volunteer as well doing a survey in lovely Goldhanger, which is a really nice site. I've had 286 surveys conducted, 572 volunteer hours, so that's a lot of data to go through. And from that, we're really excited to share that we created this story map, which is a really fantastic tool to use for engagement. So you can see the pictures on the left there. All of this data and the maps we've produced are very interactive and accessible, so you can zoom in and out all of them. You can click on all the site points, learn more about the sites and all the data itself, so really fixate on what particular pressures which site, and it's really great way to showcase what we're doing, and we'll be using that a lot for engagement going forward. And on the right hand side is an example picture of some of the pressures we've got. So there's some heavy trampling and a boat just right in the middle of an area of seagrass, which is not great. So from all of this data has enabled us to really target particular areas for engagement. Got some nice pictures there of us at different events, so eco festivals, meeting with school children, going to their events, some live videos, and got a really nice leaflet, which is actually outside with Jules at the moment, so you can have a look at that if you'd like. So hopefully raising lots of awareness and engaging with lots of people throughout Essex. So as ReMEDIES is coming to the end, we're kind of thinking about what's next, and we've started working a lot with Project Seagrass, particularly Emma, who's here today, and conducting seagrass monitoring and restoration trials in Essex. This is particularly tricky because most of the trials everybody else talks about is for the common eelgrass, but that doesn't really work in Essex. We've got intertidal areas, so we're really trying to work out what's best. So the pictures on the top there is the monitoring and the little seagrass cores we've been using to transplant, so that's really exciting work we're doing there. And all of these sites have been chosen directly because of the work we've been doing with ReMEDIES with those recreational impact surveys. And then we'll be continuing those surveys and doing lots of engagement still in the future years. And we've also set up an Essex Seagrass Specialist Group, which that's this lovely lot in the bottom left down there. So you're having workshops and collaborations and really trying to tackle seagrass restoration in Essex, and all working towards this expansion of the Essex Seagrass project and building on that work from ReMEDIES. Thank you.
And then we have another Wildlife Trust, Matt. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So I'm just going to be giving a quick talk to you about my experiences of the ReMEDIES project. So I'm a Marine Conservation Officer at Cornwall Wildlife Trust, and one of the projects I work on is Seasearch. And there's a lot of sea searchers in the audience today. Hands up who's a sea searcher. Yay, brilliant. And anyone who isn't is welcome to join us. It's a great fun project. It's a big project. It's been running since the 1980s. We've got lots of partners involved, with the Marine Conservation Society being the overall organiser and founder of Seasearch. And then lots of other organisations are involved, including the Wildlife Trust. So in Cornwall, we've been delivering Seasearch now since 2009. So it's now in its 35 years of running. We train volunteers to record marine life and the habitats they encounter. And it's now become the second largest contributor of records to the NBN, which we're really proud of, and we're rapidly getting closer to our millionth record. So with ReMEDIES funding, in Cornwall we ran 22 dive surveys, or days of diving. The money from ReMEDIES went to subsidise the costs to the volunteer divers, which was really appreciated by the divers, and we had really good uptake. All of the divers involved produced detailed Seasearch forms, and a huge amount of volunteer time was donated effectively. And we increased our knowledge of seabed habitats in the Fowl and Helford and within Plymouth Sound SACs. We started with a bit of a focus on seagrass, but we ended up also including a lot of diving on merle beds and explored a lot of areas where merle records had been received, but we didn't know much, and we really expanded our knowledge. So we were looking at the health of seagrass beds and merle beds. We were looking for human impacts, and actually we did find luckily in Cornwall, within those two SACs, we didn't get a huge amount of evidence of human impacts, fortunately. We were able to, though, assess the extent and the quality and biodiversity. And a huge amount of what we're doing is actually public awareness, really. So we're gathering great data, but we're also spreading the news. And many of our volunteers are brilliant underwater photographers, including Lewis, who's joined Seasearch last year. And several of the other brilliant photos we've seen today are taken by Cornish sea searchers. We were able to ground truth lots of seabed features, and we really increased our knowledge, and I think that's probably a really long-lasting legacy. We want to continue to build on that in future years. We've recently, as I said, done a lot more diving within Falmouth Bay and discovered the seagrass, the merle beds in Falmouth Bay have really responded well to the ban on mobile gear, which was brought in back in 2009. And certainly this patch of merle, we were really surprised at how dense it was. And this is right out in the bay, in an area that used to be dredged a lot by scallopers. So that is a real conservation win. And we'd like to see more projects like that where our seabeds are able to recover. We noted a lot of more negative things, though, during the course of all the diving, and certainly we've seen a real increase in epiphytic algae on seagrass and merle beds. So how worried we should be about these epiphytes smothering and reducing light, getting to our seagrass beds and our merle beds, is a bit of a difficult question to answer. And it's also very hard to quantify. It's quite ephemeral, it comes and goes. But certainly our records are showing an increase, and this could be linked to water quality. In fact, it's likely to be very closely linked to poor water quality. We've also seen an increase in non-native species, and an example was the picture there on the left of wakame growing on the merle beds off St. Mawes, which was really a worrying thing. We've known there was a bit of wakame in the marinas, but to actually see it growing with its holdfast digging, clutching onto the merle nodules is really worrying. And if that, it could be something that needs action taken. We also saw a large amount of the red filamentous algae. First saw it in the Tamar. And now we're seeing a lot of it around Cornish coastlines as well. It's a non-native species, we think. Augustifolia turniflora, I think it's called. Might be wrong on that. No, Antithamniella turniflora. And then on the last picture, we've seen a lot of these algal films on merle beds. And we're not exactly sure if it definitely is algae or if it's bacteria or possibly cyanobacteria. And we're hoping to do some survey work to find that out this year. So, yeah, it's been a brilliant project. ReMEDIES has really helped us inject a lot of energy into the project. It's allowed us to put on more opportunities for divers to get involved and get trained. And we're really grateful to that. And we feel like we've got a ball rolling really nicely now, and let's hope we can keep it going. So thank you to ReMEDIES, and thank you to all of the amazing Seasearch divers and snorkelers who have been involved over the last few years. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. We have Liz. We're doing these quickly. If anyone does have any questions, obviously come and find the speakers in the break, and I'm sure they'd be happy to answer.
Afternoon, everybody. My name's Liz Cole, and I work at Plymouth City Council as a Natural Infrastructure Officer. And I was just taking a few minutes today to give a few reflections from a local authority and also from an estuary partnership. Plymouth, along with TechF, we're the only local authority partner in ReMEDIES, and TechF is the only partnership that we're actually taken as official partners. So we brought a slightly different angle and approach to the overall work. We were also the only group that actually had only one focus. So we were totally focused on Plymouth, whereas all the other partners had roles across all 5 SACs. We also took all our work to complement and enhance the ongoing plan, the Tamar Estuaries plan, and the Marine Recreation Mitigation Scheme, which I think Fiona mentioned earlier. So everything we did was linked to that from the beginning, throughout the work, and we'll carry on afterwards as well. So what was our key role? Well, 4 key ones, really. Advice and guidance. So that was statutory guidance, but also port requirements. So TechF is led by the King's Harbour Master and his team, which I think were here earlier but have gone now, so this is on behalf of them as well. So advice and guidance, support to other local partners and to other ReMEDIES partners. A big role we had was in maximising local networks, contacts, liaising with a wide range of stakeholders within Plymouth Sound and Estuaries, and through TechF itself and through PPMLC, which is the Port of Plymouth Marine Liaison Committee. And also I was lucky enough to be on the governance board with Duncan and others too, which was a great way for the council to have a really direct input. So some of the key highlights, building new partnerships based on that community engagement. There's huge amounts of activity going on within Plymouth, and to be part of that and to bring some of that into ReMEDIES has been really beneficial. Being able to take those networks, communications, and then test new ideas and be really brave, which I think is what's come out of today. You know, there's lots of new thinking that ReMEDIES has been involved in, and then taking that back out to partners and to communities has taken a lot of time and a lot of thought, and for us all to be quite brave to get communities to be receptive to what we've been offering. And we've also had the chance to repeat our marine recreation survey, which again I think what I've said he's covered, which is great. But that survey's been repeated. I think this is the 3rd iteration now, but it's a really important piece of work for Plymouth to be able to look at who's using our waters, how often they're using it, and what those impacts are, so that we can then bring that back into our mitigation work as we go forward. The other really nice thing that we've done is to be able to bring in some creative solutions. So we've been working with some local artists, and they've taken a kind of creative look at Seagrass and have used that theme to help us create some educational resources. So we had a little game for younger people. The model that I think is downstairs, and made them really interactive and engaging. But also we took some of those themes and we used those to make signs for the VNAZ, so that it took some of that messaging and some of that kind of recognition across different areas of work that we were doing. There have been some challenges. I think we've all talked about those today. I think building stakeholder confidence and understanding has been something that we've needed to work through. And then maintaining those relationships has been a bit of a challenge because it's been quite a long time. We've had ups and downs within that. So keeping that contact, keeping people up to date, keeping people engaged and aware of all these different things that are happening has been a challenge, but I think we've been innovative. We've been really creative about how we've come up with ways of dealing with that. I've put procurement down as a challenge because I'm from a local authority and we always find procurement a challenge. Surprisingly, not many others have mentioned it, but it is difficult trying to get new ways of working through existing systems. So again, we've managed it, it's been fine. And got to mention COVID and staffing because it has made this a slightly different project to what it might have been otherwise. But again, I think, resilience, creativity and real kind of determination and passion has made that happen for all of us. So finally, a little bit of legacy. I don't need to go through these because Fiona's really done them in a much more cohesive way. But I think for Plymouth, it's great to be able to work more closely with the Plymouth Sound National Marine Park and with all the energy and the opportunity that brings for us. And I think finally I just wanted to say thank you again to to working with all our partners, to Natural England for being such a great lead partner, for being patient with us when we didn't do what we were told, Rebecca, but also to our communities and to our stakeholders and to everyone that we've worked with for sticking with us, for supporting us, and for allowing us to get to where we are today, which is such a positive project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Liz. And now we have Sue. Sue Scott, please.
I missed her. I'll sit down again. Let's have a little walk.
Oh dear. Another one. I couldn't read it. Oh yeah, I've got my glasses on anyway. I think it was Jean-Luc who put me up to that. Okay, yeah, I'm Sue Scott. I'm from the Helford Estuary in South Cornwall. And today, I just really want to say thanks very much for inviting us. I say us because I have my two very best volunteers here with me. Not the only ones that contributed data towards the voluntary no anchor zone surveys, but Sally Ann and Georgina cheerfully survived 4 years of data collection, giving up precious summertime, battling with parking and the weather. So actually, can we just give them a round of applause? Because they are just have been brilliant. And they're up here. They've thoroughly enjoyed the day, I think, so far, and are expecting a nice VIP tour of the Seagrass farm downstairs in a minute. Right. I'm speaking for. I'm actually the Helford Estuary officer for the SAC, and I work for Cornwall Council. But I'm actually speaking as a volunteer now for the Helford Marine Conservation Group, because that's really how the trip with Life Remedies started. I was really pleased to be invited up to one of those initial meetings a very long time ago. I think it was in the National Trust head office, and then, subsequently in 2019, I got my job with Cornwall Council, and I've carried those relationships through, which has been absolutely marvellous. I've got a picture there. That's a picture. That's Sally Ann and Georgina on the water on our estuary patrol boat. So the voluntary no anchor zone was actually established in the Helford by Helford River Moorings to restrict this popular anchorage over the best seagrass that we had at the time. This was after, as everyone suffered, that sort of huge declines across the rest of the county. That was the same for us in many areas, and that particular bed was about the best we had. It was established in 1999 through fears that people coming down to watch the eclipse, so we all remember that, were going to be anchoring up there and would cause a lot of damage. But just to say, it was put in place by all the river owners and the people who are actually involved in the river there, and by Helford River Moorings. It wasn't actually a conservation move, except it was, of course, because we got lots of backup and help from Natural England. So I'll just go on to there. So we're down in South Cornwall. The top picture there is an extent of the whole of the SAC that I have to cover as an estuary officer. But Helford is in that very, very pretty part. It's a rear. It has everything. It has merle, it has seagrass, it has everything that the rest of the SAC has. And it was just such a great data opportunity to Georgina here. She's on the parish council and has been involved in funding the no anchor zone before, and to overlook Green Beach and to see that what used to be a very quiet local speech and how it's expanded and it's become much, much more popular over these years. It was a good thing to be able to look at that. So we collected data on anchoring in and anchoring out of the no anchor zone, and we very quickly saw that there was a lot of use of the other side of the river as well, on the south side. So we started picking up on the numbers anchored over there, because you could see, and as these years progressed, you could actually see that movement to other areas. Because obviously when you're doing anything, putting in no anchor areas or whatever you're doing, you always have to think about the unintended consequences and where people might go. And to say, we just picked up an awful lot more information along the way that would help me. So it's been a great data share experience. So I've been able to use my information for Cornwall Council as well. So how it all worked. I've got a picture up there of one of our information boards that we produce for the SAC for the Helford there. And as you can see, there's a red dot up over where we were looking, over the seagrass. There's a lot of seagrass there. All those weed splodges are seagrass. But say it's got a picture there of the main bed and where we were standing roughly. 2020, the activity was higher due to the pandemic and staycations and time off and the need for fresh air. I think the moorings officer counted 100 boats anchored through that middle part of the estuary overnight. So we were very pleased at that point to have that VNAZ in for that time. 2022 was a really good summer, and then you find that actually in very good weather, everybody comes out, and you get that people creeping into the no anchor zone. So that was all could be seen by the data. And then we had actually hatched this plan earlier, but it took a long time to come about. In 2023, we expanded the zone from 3 markers to 5. And you can see on the bottom picture of the little old markers that we used to have. And we just made them bigger and bolder. And also started, we had previously been using this very good seabed-friendly marker, as we call it. And in fact, I actually asked Myler Moorings officer Myler Moorings engineers to actually sort something out for us because it was starting to concern me. We had block and chain markers there, probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And now those are in use over in St Mawes and off the Flushing seagrass beds as well. And they're proving themselves to be actually really reliable, which is good. So a nice little bit of local invention. And so the expansion of that seagrass bed, really, it stopped the edges being nibbled away by anchor chains because everyone, it's human nature, they get sort of right up to the marking area. And also just to extend that coverage and get a few more markers in, it really has made all the difference. I think between that and all the national coverage about seagrass and the local projects as well, it really has sort of raised the awareness. And we very, very rarely see anybody going in there, and usually it's just an accidental thing. I've got an estuary patrol boat with volunteers over the summer there, and we collect data from all the anchorages, which actually went into the report here as well, to just get an idea of where people want to be and in what conditions and things, so we can manage things. So just to say that national publicity and public awareness has helped with that zone expansion. We didn't have any kickback over that at all. Whereas, I mean, I've been around the Helford for 35 years, and the grumblings about the no anchor zone in the old days was just legion and ongoing. There was always somebody making a fuss about it. So it has actually turned out to be a really good move. And the other thing is, just to add to that, there's all those other things that work with it as well, like just the reduction of noise and the hydrocarbons. Possibly helps with species diversity, and I think we've got Chris here, and his students are working on some science on that. So we'll just hang in there and wait for that. But it also makes it a much safer beach for all the users there, swimmers and snorkelers and divers, not having boats coming in and out. Yeah, lots of good things to say about VNAZs, and that's it.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you very much. Yeah, the work that Sue has done has been invaluable, so thank you so much for all your help on the project going forward. Andy, thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Andrew Hunt. I'm here wearing my ABC Subsea hat today. ABC Subsea is a consortium of 3 companies. Vector Sustainable Engineering Limited, which is me. I do the subsea engineering bit. There's ABC Anchors, who most of you have come across, do the screw anchors mainly on land. And there's a guy called Ed Walker, who heads up UK Maritime Consulting. He's a ship's captain, and he does the marine operations stuff. So I've got a very short presentation for you, just to show you what we contributed to the ReMEDIES project, and sort of give you a bit of an overview of what we can do for future projects. Right, okay, so we put in the Voluntary No Anchor Zone marker buoys, and hence the title of this project. So it wasn't really an advanced mooring system, it was more of an advanced marker system. And the idea is we don't want people mooring up to these, but inevitably they sometimes do. The key thing that we did was design out the diver. Now, I'm a diver, but I've spent my career designing out divers, and I use divers appropriately. So we came up with a mooring installation tool, which in 2 minutes installed both the mooring and the anchor into the seabed. And the overall time was about an hour, because you have to move the pontoon to the next location to repeat the process. We did the installation early on in Q1, so apologies for the photographs. The visibility in the Solent is not very good. The visibility on that day was about the length of my hand, and it's just that the fact that you get very close with a GoPro, which makes the visibility look even better than it actually is. Some of our key innovations and achievements. One was the mooring installation tool. Apologies, I did have a video, but that didn't work, so we'll have to make do with the still showing the planned view of the system. This is a simple Versadoc pontoon that's manoeuvred into position using a simple little, not inflatable, little motorboat. We did have some divers on standby, mainly because I needed to go and have a look in the nose and see what was happening, but they weren't required for the actual installation process. And the great thing about screw anchors is they're very compact, and we got, in a very small area, we got a very good team and system to get everything done efficiently. We reckon we can probably get up to, with this system, 8 to 12 anchors in the water in a day. So we deployed 8 of them safely, no need for divers, and we did that in up to 1.5 knots of tide in near zero visibility. So for the divers amongst you, you'll know that anything above 1/2 knot makes things quite difficult to work with in the water, and we were in 3 times that limit. We did the job very efficiently. It was 2 days total. That was mob, install, demob. As I mentioned before, 2 minutes for the actual installing the anchor, and about an hour to manoeuvre the boat into the next position. And on top of that, we also recovered the existing clump weights and markers and recycle the markers and those clump weights. This is an engineering diagram. I'm sort of an engineer. There's a few of us in the room, and I know we're surrounded by marine biologists, so bear with the technical drawing. We're conscious that there's people are working in different areas of like subtidal and intertidal, so we've got solutions for all of them. So the classic thing is to take the land-based solution and, well, actually I'll come back to that. I'll just talk you through the screw anchors first. So most people have talked about advanced mooring systems. The classic product is a 2-meter long screw anchor pile with a swivel on the top or a fixed hook. That's 60 millimeters diameter. It weighs about 29 kilos, so you can handle that quite easily. So it's not just, that can not only be used for mooring, but we're also looking at using it just as for marking areas, if you like, putting a fence around areas, and they could be used as sort of fixed datums. Once you get these in, they're going to stay put, and you're going to find them quite easily afterwards. We've also got our eyes on biogenic reef modules, so you can top them off with a reef module to help rebuild a reef, maybe a native oyster reef. And of course, you could use that same footprint to stick some monitoring equipment down on top of them as well, again, in a fixed known spot. The systems we use to install them in the ground, one is a man-portable 400H torque head. So this is used on land. It's been marinized a little bit to enable some divers to take it underwater. So that's one way of doing it. So this can be really used on land down to paddling depth. Now, in sylvesterine conditions, some of them are very muddy, and you might not want to do that. So then we've got this platform, which is built and is ready to be sort of deployed. So that's useful for very shallow water, or where it's a little bit hazardous to go out on the mud, because you might get stuck. And then the mooring installation tool, that's the thing that we developed and used for Osborne Bay. That's used for deeper waters, and theoretically there's no limit to the depth, providing the subsea engineering keeps pace. But practically for that one, it was just really the length of hydraulic hose and some instrumentation that we had that limited the depth on that. But we were operating in about sort of 6-7 meters in a tidal stream in zero visibility, and it all worked very well. That's it. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Andy. If you have any technical questions, please ask Andy in the break. And then last but not least, it's your turn now, Tim.
For the second time. I'm here all week. I feel that, having seen myself staring out of a few slides today, one reflection is that after 4 years of working on the ReMEDIES project, my beard is considerably longer and measurably whiter. So I'm going to talk today about our recreational activity survey work that we did for the ReMEDIES project in the Solent. I'm from Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust. You can see my name there. I'm really presenting this, but it's the line underneath are the real authors of this work, which is the volunteers that have come to help us do this job. And within the Solent, of course, it's a major recreational hub, not least for boating and water sports. And we chose 5 sites across the Solent and within the Solent Maritime SAC, in the west of the Isle of Wight at Yarmouth and Boldner, central east at Osborne Bay and Kings Quay, and on the Hampshire coast inside Langston Harbour. And they were sort of chosen sort of a priori ideas of different levels of recreational activity, but of course also absolutely adjacent to some of the island's existing seagrass meadows, which you can see there in green. And then for 2 months every summer, in August and September, our volunteers went out once at the weekend and once midweek to spend an hour surveying the recreational activity at those sites. And they were armed with one of these, inside which they had a lovely clipboard with a form and some information and a guidebook and an instruction manual. We did a video instruction session as well. I had a compass and a little bag full of gubbins, and they had a rangefinder. And with that, they plotted and recorded all of the recreational activity that was taking place at each of those locations. So that's about 600 volunteer hours across the 4 years. And as you can see, we're very lucky in the Solent. Every day is sunny with blue sky and blue seas. But it was a tremendous volunteer effort. And the important thing is they're unsupervised. A lot of our volunteer stuff that we do at the Trust, someone from the staff is there, but these were volunteers out on their own doing citizen science and very much volunteer-led. And the data they gathered has been really useful. We've got a really good now baseline of recreational activity at these 5 locations around the Solent. And at 2 sites, Langston and Boldner, probably the sort of recreation activity wasn't of a level or a type that was much of a concern. At Yarmouth, and a pre-existing area of visitor moorings effectively managed access to the impact on the seagrass meadow. King's Quay is a bit of a concern, which we need to keep looking at, but the red flashing light was at Osborne Bay, because it's a very popular spot for boating activity. One of our surveyors recorded over 100 boat movements in an hour. And our data showed an average of 5.3 vessels anchoring within the seagrass every hour during that 2-month period. So that is a considerable amount of impact. And as a result of that data, you've seen it already, what happened next was that a voluntary no anchor zone was installed in Osborne Bay earlier in 2024. And so this summer, our surveys were able to actually try to detect an impact of that voluntary no anchor zone. Has it changed behaviour? I can't give you that answer yet, because the surveys finished 2 days ago, and the survey bags are still winging their way back towards me, and I've got to spend a tremendous amount of effort in the next month getting it all written up in time for the project deadline. But I think, the real effort is that, a volunteer-led citizen science survey effort gathered the information that was required to support this piece of active marine management. Marine conservation doesn't always happen at breakneck speed. And I think this is pretty much a very important result. And I've been very, very happy to have been part of it and to work with you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim, and thank you very much to all those speakers. It's hugely appreciated you giving your time to give those talks and provide those reflections. And it just kind of emphasises the vast array of different organisations and people involved in the project, and it's all been extremely valuable, so thank you.